Shimpan on Earth, Cornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth.
Welcome to the New Earth, everyone. It's Cornelia Stephanie on the Cornelia Stephanie Show. And I'm here today with two of my favorite new old soul family, I should say. And we're here to talk with you about Ascension, all things Ascension. And the subject line of today's podcast is a growing intolerance to our 3D world, with Colleen Marshall and Miles Simon. Now, for some reason, I'm having a feedback. Is anyone else hearing that? Do you hear that, Colleen? Do you hear a feedback, Miles?
Well, now that you said it, I hear a little tick at the end of when you talk, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so do you hear it when I talk? Or just when you talk?
Yeah, I'm not hearing it when I talk.
Oh, okay.
I better say something just in case to see if it's clear from this end.
Yeah. No, it seems to be okay. All right. So why don't we introduce ourselves? You know, because we're just starting this series of bringing the two of you out into the world. You are and have been doing tremendous light work behind the scenes with so many people around the world over the last 20 some plus years. And so let's just give a quick introduction again to who you are. So why don't we start with you, Colleen? You know, just like
couple sentences.
Yeah.
A nutshell. I woke up when I was 43, and then I met Sheldon Neidl, and then we ended up having a relationship, and Sheldon Neidl is a contactee for the Galactic Federation. And so I've spent the next 28 years dedicated to helping people get ready for reunion with our galactic community. And so that's my passion, and that's my intention, and that's what makes me get up every day.
Yeah, and that's also been your training. It's also been part of your mission, being here on Earth at this time, and you've been doing incredible work. So I just want to, yeah, absolutely incredible work. I just want to honor you. It has not been easy for the starseeds that have been here, like yourself, that have been doing this work for a long time. There's many people nowadays that are waking up to, oh, there's more to this 3D world. But those of us that have been working tirelessly behind the scenes, paving the paths for all the years that we've been doing it, you know, it deserves a lot of honor. Deserves a lot of honor for doing this work.
You know, you have to realize that when we were doing it in the mid 90s is when we started. There was no internet. You know, we had to go to people's homes and gather 20 people at a time, then finally get to a bigger venue. And it was the harder road than now. Everybody's got a podcast. Everybody's got Instagram. You know, people are just popping up all over, sharing their wisdom, sharing what they're learning. And we had the harder job way back then. But that's okay, because now we've paved the road for everybody else to come flooding in.
But we said yes to that, It's, you know,
Yes.
it was always hard to remember that we did say yes to this initially in the beginning to pioneer and go first so that others would have it easier. And I do believe that all the people that are popping up now have been, you know, part of that ripple effect,
Yeah.
right? So
Which
let's
is
say,
great.
right?
That's how it works.
That is how it works. That is how it works. But I just want to say, like right now, you know, is such a crucial time to honor who we are as masters, because that's who's on this call here today. So I
And
just want
you
to
know
say,
what? That's what I keep telling people. We're here to master 3D. So just keep your focus on mastering all the things that come up for you. You know, it's like, well, okay, have your feeling. A lot of times it's not a pleasant feeling, but then, okay, how do I change this? How do I master it? Because that's what an ascended master is, and that's what we're all in training of. Or we're already ascended masters on another dimension.
or in this dimension. So there's definitely we're all in different places, but to be able to know who you are and own the work and the responsibility and everything that you've taken on in this lifetime, and not to you know, not to dumb it down or shy it down because other people can't handle your light or whatever, right? Because there's certainly that going on. uh, but I just want to acknowledge that the people that are on this call today, in your mastery, that's who you are. That's how I see you. That's how I see myself in my mastery, and I see you that way too. So I just want to acknowledge this today here. So let's say hi to Miles. Miles, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's nice to be here. If people are wondering how I got connected with the uh, Planetary Activation Organization, a book fell off the shelf at a metaphysical bookstore called You Are Becoming a Galactic Human in the mid 90s, and I read it 6 times and I wanted more and I couldn't get it because the website wasn't working. So I phoned and said, "Can I be part of this organization? I'll do your website." So I did. And over the years, I found that I had a role to play to help the PAO grow, and I became part of it in my own way with my own skills. And I do a lot of the technical work and I help with the questions, and I work with Colleen on strategy so we can grow. And when Sheldon couldn't be part of it anymore because of his illness, Colleen and I sort of rolled with it. And here we are today on your show, growing and pushing forward.
You know, I just want to say, like, a lot of people, there's the people when you all were on last month for the first show, which I, by the way, or Miles, come forward a little. Yeah, come forward a little. There you go. Which, by the way, I'm going to recommend that if you haven't watched the first show, we talked a lot about Sheldon Neidl in the first show, and so that you can, you know, if you don't have a backstory on, because some people might be tuning in for the first time, and I don't know of any, like, if I was to say the word, the name Sheldon Neidl to people today, even here in the circle of awakened people, I don't know if they would know who Sheldon Neidl is today. So that's why, you know, it's an important piece. It was he was a spiritual mentor uh, to support you all in your growth and expansion and everything that you all did at that time. And now you're taking this work into a deeper, more frontline world with your own what, you know, wisdom. Is that right?
That is right. Um, I will say you're right. Sheldon's been out of the picture for 5.5 years. That's a long time in the
Yeah.
internet. You know, on the internet, that's a forever. So yeah, what makes some of Sheldon's wisdom, besides the galactic part, is he was the one who introduced Nasara, Gasara,
Mhm.
to the spiritual, angelic, metaphysical community. And so that kind of put him on the map as well, because he became kind of the expert on that. And
yeah, we definitely want to talk about that. But first, Miles, why don't you tell the audience right now where they can go to the website? You guys have such a library of content, like very dense. It's very dense. There's so much information on your website, but also announce your YouTube channel so people can go check it out. And there's so much information there that they can learn. Why don't you tell us where to go on the website?
All right. Well, our call letters, our URL for our website is www.paoweb.com. That's like Planetary Activation Organization's initials. And when you get to the website, there's an incredible amount of information from Sheldon that you can watch. And one of it's called You Are Becoming a Galactic Human. And this coming Sunday, we're doing a webinar, which we do every month, with Pia and Cullen, who are friends of everyone. And they bring with them to the webinar Larkma. And Larkma are special galactic entities who bring wisdom and a kind of overview of where we're at from a galactic perspective. And they're quite well connected with the Pleiadians.
Mm-hmm.
And so this Sunday, I actually wrote down some of the things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about time acceleration. We're going to talk about feeling the great split. We're going to talk about how environmental effects are behaving on humans. And what we're going to be talking about today is Ascension hypersensitivity. And then in the end of our webinar, Larkma will update us on our evolutionary progress. For those of you who have never been to our webinar, they're really quite exciting. Our guests really give us incredible wisdom. And on our website, if you're interested in past webinars, there's an archive page that you can go to. Plus, there's all of Sheldon's archives. And there is a lot of webinars that you can watch that Sheldon presented to tell us all about our galactic origins, where we come from. So it's almost like galactic Wikipedia.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And what about your YouTube channel, Miles?
Okay, so the YouTube channel, you'll find the link on our events link. There's an events button on our homepage. And if you click on that, it'll take you to our YouTube channel.
Good. And, we're going to upload all of these podcasts that we're doing here together. They're going on that site as well, because this is the next phase of Colleen and Miles bringing forth their wisdom as well as their guests' wisdom and everything like we talked about already. Living in our mastery, living in the new earth, being here now after all the spiritual training and everything that we've cleared over the years, anchored, called in, and now we are supporting each other and welcoming, I should say, the people that want to live with us here in the new earth. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. So, Colleen, I definitely, at some point want to talk about Jasara and Asara, but let's talk a little bit about the intolerance that we're all feeling, in the 3D world. Like, what inspired you to call it that? What made you want to address that right now?
Well, really, it came from Miles. He tends to do that. But he said that I was the one who inspired him because I had recently been on a trip to my granddaughter's graduation. So it was 250 students that were being graduated, which meant 5 adults at least for each one of them. So I was in a large group that I haven't been in a long time, unless it's a spiritual group. And so I was recognizing just different energies, and I didn't feel like I belonged. I felt like I was a fish out of water, even though everybody else was running around. But energetically, I was just like, nobody has a clue about anything. They know something's wrong with the world. I'm not saying that they're, because these are affluent people, educated, very educated people, actually. And, but no, they're not aware of the social. Well, they probably aware a little bit, but they don't care, is what I felt, is nobody took time to understand it. My son is awake on politics and the medical and food and things like that. But as far as the spiritual and the galactic thing, not so much. So he's somebody I kind of use as my barometer, as somebody who is awake. And then his wife, not awake at all and doesn't want to talk about any of it. Oh, no, 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 don't ruffle any feathers. So then she's my barometer on other things, And so when they come up with different things, I go, okay, they're waking up. Everybody's waking up. Everybody's waking up to whatever level. And however, the star seeds and the light workers, we're having a hard time because our frequency keeps rising. So then we're not fitting because not the whole collective isn't rising as quickly as we are. So we're having a more intolerant way of navigating daily life. When I have to pay the rent, I'm like, oh, wow, rent. Oh, checkbook. Oh, I mean, it almost jars me, like, because I'm in this other realm of being and of anchoring in a higher consciousness. And then all of a sudden it's pay the bills, and then I go, oh, I got to do that. Yeah. So there's an intolerance that's building up with inside of each of us that are awake, because it's harder and harder to navigate the daily 3D, because we're more in 4 or 5. We're going on our way to 5D. So we're in our 4. A lot of people are in lower 4. I would say the 3 of us are more on the higher 4 side. And in the 4th dimension, of course, everything comes up to be reviewed, which is what we're doing. And that's very shocking to a lot of people who didn't know that this was going on for thousands of years, actually. So.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like when you were talking and I was picturing you at the graduation. What came up for me when we're around people where we don't fit in, our frequency isn't being met.
Right.
That's the part that's hard, because the frequency isn't being met, because you're shining your light, you're there, your vibration is high, you're shining, but you're not being met with the same amount of frequencies, like, because people are, again, coming from wherever they're at, and it's no judgment. It's just, that's why we were talking about it's harder for us right now, because not everyone is able to meet you. I'm even finding that even the inner circle that has been created, people in your inner circle, that even some people in the inner circle don't really are not able to really maintain that level of frequency, that level of vibration, even people in the inner circle, which is interesting. But again, that brings it back to masters in training, depending on where you are in your level of evolution as a being, where you are, that's what it comes down to. So what have you noticed, Miles, with your intolerance in the 3D world?
Well, in particular, I noticed that sometimes I'll be walking. We live in a very kind of cosmopolitan part of Vancouver, Canada. We're literally in the edge of downtown Vancouver. We can see mountains and the ocean. I can see them from outside my window. But I'm looking at the buildings, the high-rise buildings. I'm looking at the cars, and I don't feel I belong. Like I'm saying, what? Cars, buildings? This is crazy. And then I realized, something's happening with my visceral memory. Like, I think that a lot of us who signed up to come here came to kind of downsize ourselves to a physical form in 3D, and we have amnesia to our past lives or to where we might have come from another planet. And so I'm starting to feel tweaks of that. And interestingly enough, I woke up just after I had an interesting dream this morning. I was walking literally down a street, and I had to find a church. And so I kept walking and walking, and I couldn't find it. And finally I realized, oh, there it is. It's on the side of a building. So I walked in and I sat down, and I was sandwiched between a couple of ladies, and I looked behind me and I was trying to say, do I know anyone here? Couldn't find anyone I knew. And then I saw a lot of children, and I thought, what am I doing here? And then I saw a gentleman come up to the front of the stage, and I thought it was somebody I played music with. And I mentioned that to the people I was sitting next to. Oh, I play music with him. But it was like this was a symbolic dream, kind of earmarking the fact that I am feeling like I don't belong. Like, what am I doing in that situation? And nothing ever happened. I sat there waiting for something to happen. There was no lecture, no nothing. So finally I left. I didn't belong. So maybe that kind of capsulizes how it is for us at some point. And I thought it was interesting that I had a dream delivered to me that kind of symbolized what we were talking about today. That's got to be galactic.
Totally. I resonate with that. I resonate. Like, when I really feel at my best is when I'm in my own energy and I'm with myself. That is when I feel my best, when I'm in my home or I'm out in nature and I'm in my own energy. There's not a lot of, other people around. That's where it feels really, really good, really nurturing, really loving, really held. It's when others are, when you're interacting with the 3D world, you know, uh, where the challenges come about, and that's another thing that's hard that's been hard for us because here we are, raising the consciousness, raising the vibration, raising everything up, activating, and now we have to join the land of the living again, if you will, and trying to find where we fit. Where do we fit? Where do we? How do we fit? So would you say that's true, Colleen?
Definitely. And the other intolerances that I wanted to bring up is like our food. Well, we already know that, the soil isn't what it used to be. And we understand all that, but it's getting more and more difficult. I can't even go to a restaurant unless it's a specific restaurant that serves really high quality food, organic food or whatever. I don't even, I'd rather come home and cook. And so that's kind of taking away some of the pleasures. It feels like some of your pleasures or what used to be pleasures is being taken away just because I really can't eat a lot of their food that maybe I did a year ago or even 5 years ago for sure. So it's food, it's air, it's, absolutely everything we're becoming allergic to almost. It's like, we can't breathe the air certain days. We can't go into the ocean. We can't drink. We can't trust all the water we're going to drink. The trust issue. So the trust issue is we're being challenged, I think, on trusting so many things. So then that's why you're feeling so good with your own self, because this is the only thing we can really trust.
Right.
And to get silent and to allow our higher knowledge, our higher wisdom to come through and help us get through all this.
Yeah. It's so true about the food and the air. With all the fires that were recently going on in Canada and all the things, I mean, the air, the food. One of I want to ask your opinion about something. Somebody recently, a spiritual person that claims to be highly awake, was saying that when food is expired, like let's just say expired food in your cabinets, so cans that are expired, or not even cans, but it's just stuff you have in the fridge and the date has expired, that's on there. He seems to think that we have the ability to raise the consciousness of the food higher, uh, that we shouldn't be concerned with the date. What do you think about that?
I can speak to that.
Go for it.
Um, I have the same uh, drink every morning with my cereal, and I have a thing called rice, a beverage called Rice Dream, and the date still showing April, and it's still good. And I'm raising this for a reason. A month or so ago, our fridge threatened to go on the blink. We had the repair person come in. He said, "You've got to get a new fridge." Something didn't feel right. I did something instinctively in the fridge myself, and I somehow reset something, and it's now working again. And so my wife Rhonda and I said, "Let's love the fridge. Let's send the fridge some love." And we did, and it's working. So it's kind of like we defied the expiry date with a real life experience here. How long that's going to last remains to be seen. But I also think that it's like everything else. You've heard the term planned obsolescence, where people try to get you to buy something new when something is still working. And so they use fear tactics to get you to panic in case you need something that you don't need. And so I think those dates on these products are that in case you don't happen to use it right away, they want you to buy something new because otherwise they would lose business. And I think that has a lot to do with it.
Now, I think I saw that same thing, Cornelia, and of course, we have that power,
Mm-hmm.
but have we mastered that yet? So some people go, "Oh yeah, I can just bless the food and it's all okay." And they were telling me that 10 years ago when they weren't anywhere near a high enough frequency to do so. So I think that, of course, we're able to do that. I agree. We're able to literally do everything as we raise our frequency, but are we there yet to
Yeah,
trust it?
right.
Sometimes.
I think that's really good. And I think, like if you're looking at a month or 2 months, that's one thing. But if you're looking at years of pass by date, that doesn't resonate for me today, because you said it earlier, Colleen, is, you know, it's also our pleasure to eat what is good for us, that things that aren't toxic or lost their sell by date, or what's your pleasure. I mean, that's also on the table. That's why you want to make sure that when you cook for yourself, that you're preparing your food with the highest form of love and nurturing for you, and that you know what's going in it. It's that thing. For me, it's like that too. Like where I am right now, I want the best for me, period. That's all. It's only the best will do. Everything else has to go. Seriously, it's just that simple. I like what I like, and it doesn't mean, we've been doing so much clearing of lack and distortion and all the things that we've been doing for years and years and years and years. I don't want scraps now. I want the best. And I feel good about saying it. What about you? Do you want the
Good.
best
Miles? No? Yeah.
Oh, well, it's interesting that you say these things because we haven't been to a restaurant in 3.5 years.
Wow.
And I've narrowed down my food to a very specific diet. I can't vary from it because if I do, my frequencies go wild. So some people say, "Wow, you're not adventurous when it comes to food." I'd rather not be adventurous with food and be less adventurous with my frequencies.
And you talked about the contraction. Lately, what I tell the universe, I go, oh, wait a minute. That's contracting. I'm here to expand. We're in the expansion time. No, 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 no. No more contracting, you know? And so then I catch myself like with the thought of, I don't have enough money this month to what, and then I go, wait a minute. Yes, I do. You know, today I do have enough money to make it.
Yeah.
It's my future going, oh gosh, next month I might not, you know, or whatever. And so now I correct myself and I go, no, this is the time of expansion and that we can manifest with our intention. So we have to practice. When we were saying that we can't always raise the frequency of the expiration date or whatever, well, yeah, practice. And the more we practice, the better and better and the more expanded we become, and the more we can manifest our heart's desires. And you actually told me something the very first time we ever talked about how it's just time for joy and that's it. And I
Yeah.
really liked that. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And actually, you know, I think the other thing that we talked about at that time was I was reading something about the Lumerians. And the Lumerians, what they were doing during manifestation time, because everyone, remember what's happening now on planet Earth, hello, has never happened before. You know, even our ancestors and the ascended masters that have come here before, they are singing our praises from on high because of what we have achieved here on this planet and what we are achieving still yet. On this planet because it's never been done before. And so, you know, how do we, as ascended masters, as masters in form, living in our sovereignty, living in our actualization, how do we then manifest our abundance in this world today, in our 5D world, right? Because we're not living in the 3D world. We're not living there. I'm not living there, you know, and so how do we do that? And so the Lumerians, one of the things that they did is they knew that the universe and they knew their manifestation skills were wanting to focus on only abundance, period. That it's only the abundance. So the abundance in thought, you know, what is your thoughts? Are they abundant thoughts? Are they loving thoughts? Are they high thoughts? So that they're only focusing on their abundance and, you know, and not ever spending any time or energy in lack. And so that's what they did. And that's, you know, we can bring that abundance into our energy field. We can bring that joy into our energy field. We can bring all of those positive qualities that we want to focus on, right, Colleen, into our energy field. And that is what we're manifesting today.
So true. So very true. And intention is so important. I start every morning with an intention now. For a while, I wasn't doing that. And then it seemed like my day went whatever way. And now I'm doing focus. Now, it doesn't always happen, my intention focus for that day, but more and more it is. And I kind of got out of it when last year I was sick. And I kind of got out of all the ways of, well, I just didn't have the energy to do anything really. But then I could see that then my life was just, it's like I'm in the ocean in a boat without the oars. So it's just being going wherever the universe, wherever the collective took me. You know, you have to bring it back into some clarity in order for you to manifest your life the way you want your life to go, and not just have it be default. I think that's what a lot of people do. It's just default. They don't make intentions. They don't even do their clearing work. And then it just kind of you get thrown around to whatever the collective is doing instead of manifesting for the collective a higher consciousness.
That's good. That's really good. When you were talking about you getting sick last year, I got sick also. And now looking back to that time period last year, I realized that one of the things that I stopped doing, you call it intention, setting your intentions. One of the things I stopped doing, which has been part of my process for years and years and years and years, was my journaling, my daily journaling. And I stopped doing that because I had been doing this work for so long that I stopped doing the daily journaling the way that I used to. And those of us that have been on these ascension timelines for a long time, we have been working on manifesting a lot of things that we've put out there. And part of the reason why I feel I got sick is because of the losses that I had never grieved. And, the losses, because
I'm still doing that, actually. I'm grieving my losses.
right?
Yeah.
The losses that have never materialized over the years, whether it was a relationship or whether it was parts of my business or things that I created and put that have never materialized. And I didn't grieve it the way I normally would emotionally process and grieve my losses. I didn't grieve it because on an intellectual level, I was already there. Like I wasn't reacting. But there was still a part of my heart and part of my lungs that were hurt.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's so many levels. There's your spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, So when it gets to the physical, you have to go up and fix or process, understand, let go, forgive, whatever, depending on what it is. You need to take the time to do that because it still is held in the tissues and the issues, or issues in the tissues, I mean. And so sometimes it's still in your physical body. That's what it felt like for me too. Like I was not accustomed to being ill months and months at a time. It was very difficult for me I kept thinking, oh, I'm getting better. And then I wouldn't be. That's never happened. But then, this whole world dealing with the COVID, dealing with all of that, it takes its toll on all of us.
I think the other thing that takes its toll on us is that we have been holding the line for so long and waiting for people, not waiting, because it's not like we were sitting there going, okay, nonchalantly sitting there waiting. We were doing our work, but we were, I know I was, so I'll just speak for me. And that is holding the line for a long time, waiting for people to wake up and waiting for, uh, you know, full disclosure and for things to be revealed, waiting for uh, all the things that have been promised, the original divine blueprint, that and all of that. But there is still, and people not doing their work, the collective not doing their work. So that took a toll on us. It took a toll on me, for God's sake.
Yeah.
That's my truth. It took a toll. And there was grief that had to be processed because of the loss of things that have not materialized.
I sometimes think that we are preoccupied with being rescued. And so we sometimes stop doing things because we want to be rescued so badly because of our lack of being patient. That's one thing I have to deal with sometimes. And the other thing I find is I have a word I call it when things aren't going the way I want them to, were being blocked. So I always think if I'm being blocked, it means the universe doesn't want me to do something right now, or wants me to take a different direction or do something else. And I always try to take a positive look on anything negative, because I always think negative is an opportunity to make a change or to make a shift or to pivot into something that's better for you. So if you dwell on why didn't it happen, you don't allow the why it can happen to get into your life. And I've learned that over the years, that when I fight it and I try to push that plan through that's not working, things never seem to materialize. But if I just surrender to it, say, yeah, I'm blocked. Okay, there's got to be another way. Generally, things happen. And I'm practicing that in my daily life. Sometimes I want to have certain people cross my threshold so I can talk to them about things that I need to talk to them about. So I'll give you an example. We lost through illness our longtime hairstylist. And so we wondered, well, what are we going to do? We looked at different things. I may have mentioned this before, but there's another twist to this story. So we found a lady who's the sister of a neighbor in our building who is a really good hairstylist. And she used to work in one of the major hotels in Vancouver and did hairstylists for celebrities and you name it. So she's adopted us and she's doing our hair. So my wife Rhonda has to have her hair colored, and because of her allergies, she has to use very specific types of hair coloring. So we called our former hairstylist to find out what to use. Okay, it's really hard to get a hold of this hairstylist. So I put it out. How are we going to get in touch with her? I'm down in the lobby talking to one of the neighbors, and who comes in the door? Our hairstylist. Right at that moment when I needed to find and let her know that, yeah, this is the material you need. And then it turned out that she was going to use the same stuff, the same material.
Good.
So this is a very, very basic example of when you're in the frequency and you're putting out intent, those are the sorts of things that can happen in your life that make your life more convenient. It means you don't have to stress it to get things happening. Just surrender to it, and it does fall into place.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I do remember you sharing that story last time, but it's a brilliant metaphor for navigating.
But the part that didn't happen till then was the hair color. So that was kind of like a new chapter in the story.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So what else is our growing intolerance? Anything else that you want to add to this topic today?
Well, I guess I want to remind everybody we're in duality. That's what 3D is, and that's what we're in the process of raising the vibration so that we're in oneness. The fifth dimension will be more like oneness. We're in duality right now. So that means good, bad, ugly, beautiful, up, down. Well, what we have to remember is there's no judgment. There is no good and bad the way we define good and bad. There's just the experience, and that a good experience, a bad experience. But, when you go to the higher dimensions, there's really no judging it as bad. And so I think that that's something that we all need to start looking at, how we judge so many things, because life is going to change so quickly. Right now, it feels very well. Actually, it's starting to happen right now, but it's been kind of drudge because we see the bigger picture already, and we've been holding the light for the bigger picture, waiting for enough people to push it forward, and it's happening now finally. So it's good to come back into your heart and remember not to judge people, not to judge yourself. I think we're judging ourselves too. Oh, I'm not being spiritual enough. Just recognize it and choose a different thing. It's all about intent, recognizing what's going on, and having a choice to change it. I think those are some of the main things that we need to practice every day.
It is about the daily practice. It is about the daily practice. It is about living, in our mastery of what it is that how do we want to navigate, how do we want to create, how do we want to live, and it's that practice, that daily practice of how you're being with yourself. That's why I have very strict boundaries when it comes to uh, the I absolutely refuse. I refuse to judge myself. I just have that line is so it's just to my ego. I refuse it because it's only the ego that wants to judge me. It's certainly not anything else. So the line in the sand for myself is I absolutely refuse it because um, we work so hard at being here, doing this incredible work, and bringing unconditional love and unity and acceptance into this space that we're calling home for the time, that we don't get to judge. I don't get to judge myself. It's not accepted here in heaven on earth. It's not acceptable.
Well, there you go, Miss Mastery of that.
It's not acceptable. It's just not. So
Good
it's
for you.
yeah, it's we have to develop, like you said, you have your tools, like you've got your intention setting. Find something that works for you and work with your own energy, and whatever that is, and make that work for you so that you can live in your integrity.
I've noticed lately, and because I'm surrounded by so many people who aren't awake, but they're nice people, and they're my friends and acquaintances and colleagues, that I have to keep giving of myself, doing things for people. I'm compelled to do that. I can't help myself. And recently, a lady brought her, she's 89 and she's a longtime friend, and she's a singer, and I've known her for 25 years. And she came with her computer to help, so I could help her do something. When she came, I found out that her husband of 93 was having lung problems.
Oh.
And of course, we're somewhat expert on lung problems because my wife has had asthma all her life. So our healer some years ago taught us to make a type of tincture with raspberries and vodka. So we did, and we've kind of got our own home brewery, and whenever we have lung problems, we have a shot glass of that raspberry vodka tincture. So we told Lorraine, our friend, about that, and we gave her a demonstration by showing her how we make it, and we gave her a taste, and we gave her a half a bottle to take to give to her husband that night. Before he went to bed, because every night he has breathing problems, she gave him some, and it worked better than the puffer that he has, better than anything else. And so this was our way of giving to people, even though they're not awake. We feel that if you do things like that and show kindness, that's how you help people wake up, because you set an example without trying to be spiritual. You just do ordinary things, but you do it with light. And so that's what we're trying to do.
That's mastery. That's mastery. And that is so true, because it's about the example we're being. It's about the example we're being. And like you said, Miles, it doesn't have to be a spiritual teaching where you're standing there teaching spirituality. It's through the light that you exchange, through your kindness, the kindness of extending your wisdom and sharing what you have to offer without um, without anything, just purely generous and giving.
Well,
Beautiful.
Colleen, you told me many stories about how you do that.
It just is natural.
Yeah.
It's it's the way we are in the world already. It's just it. I don't know any other way. I mean, it is interesting what you're saying, Miles, because wherever we go, if somebody drops something, I go right away to pick it up. I don't just walk by them and go, oh, well, it's always it being in service. If somebody needs something, I would just automatically. Um, so we're living by example to create the new earth that we want to be in.
Right.
And
Right. And that's why it's important to know that we're saving ourselves. There's no one coming. There's nobody. We're doing it ourselves. We're the ones. And just so you know that, we're the ones that are laying down those foundations. We're the ones that are, the earth is meeting us. The earth is meeting us, and we're the ones that are laying the foundations down of how it should have been originally, our original divine blueprint, and that moving into alignment with that, being in alignment with that, and then living the principles that we hold near and dear. That's really it. So let's, Miles, why don't we tell everyone again about your website, where to go again, and your upcoming webinar this coming Sunday with Pia and Colin. For those of you that remember that Pia and Colin come on the Cornelia Stephanie show once a month as well. And they are going to be with Larkma this coming Sunday on your webinar. Yeah.
yes.
And
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's going to be fun.
So if you want to register and come to our webinar, it's www.paoweb.com. And on our homepage, you'll see Galactic Activation Webinars. If you click on that button, it'll take you to all the information you need about Sunday's webinar. And in this particular webinar, there's going to be some really interesting discussions, as I mentioned earlier, that Larkma will probably share a galactic viewpoint about rather than our 3D viewpoints. And we always find that amazing because it's like, ooh, that's interesting. Hadn't thought of that, didn't realize that. So if you really want to hear a galactic input on what's happening right now in our world, come to the webinar.
Yes, and let's get the website again.
It's www.PAO, Planetary Activation Organization initials, PAOweb.com.
Excellent.
And
Yeah.
in July, we have Cornelia Stephanie as our guest.
How good is that?
Be aware. We'll let you all know when. By the way, I do a newsletter, so you can come to our website, also sign up for the newsletter, and it comes out 5 days a week, and it highlights a lot of the spiritual teachers of today.
Yes.
And it's free, and there's a button on our homepage for that as well. Plus all of our archives for previous webinars, and you can get to know Sheldon through a lot of his talks on the button that says you're becoming a galactic human.
Right. I think that's really an important piece. That's a good place for people to start, people that are just starting or whatever. I know like a lot of people that know you all have been with you for a long time, and they know Sheldon. So maybe the next show when you guys come here, Colleen and Miles, that we talk about our financial system. We talk about Jasara and Nasara, and we talk about all of that openly, and really, offer wisdom for how we're dealing with it today, and all of that. And so why don't we plan on that?
Perfect.
So sounds great. Well, thank you everybody for listening. When you're listening to this video on the Cornelia Stephanie Show, if you're seeing this on YouTube, please hit the like button and also subscribe button, because that really helps our algorithm too. And it gets the information out to more people. And, we keep these videos free of charge. And we thank you for listening and tuning in as always. And we'll see you again next time. Take good care, everyone, and see you on the other side. Okay.
Salamat job. Be enjoy.
And goodbye, and that's Canadian for
Hey.
Hey.